OM1 Mark II, 12 to 100 f4 Pro, CPL polarizer in the front of the lens. When we are going to be taking shots, as you know, it's very important to set everything up in advance, especially when you're going to be doing a JPEG image, because the menu matters in this case. With RAW, you can basically straight out start taking pictures and then you can do everything post, right? So there's the first thing that you need to know when it comes to taking a shot high res with JPEG on here in mind. When you go into the menu in computational modes, the high res shot is the first thing there. And in this case, I have it on a tripod. And because of that, it enables for me to do 80. Now, naturally, the system is going to think that you want to do the JPEG only, but you can do JPEG and RAW. Once I have that selected, there's a few other things. In the RAW case, I like doing 14-bit because I have the DxO program. It allows for me to actually pump out things in 14-bit, but there's a catch when it comes to high res, and I'll talk about that. In the waiting time, that's the only thing I make a recommendation for. So once you hit the shutter button, right, it waits an eighth of a second and then it takes the picture. So that way, if there's any motion, there isn't going to be shown when you're doing that image. When we're going to get to the point of taking the picture itself. Of course, because a JPEG is involved, you want to do everything in pre to make sure that it's set up properly. So of course, I'm going to be paying attention to the light. Right now, it's a little bit low, so I'm going to go ahead and bring this thing up. Oh, let me do that again. Stop it. Keep hitting the shutter button by accident. I got it right there to the light, and then it's important. White balance, I have learned just to leave it in auto. But some people like to mess around with it, so if you want to go ahead and put it sunny, you can. If you want to go ahead and put it cloudy or shadow, you know that's just going to change. But when you take that picture, you got to remember that JPEG is going to hold on to that image as it is. So there's not very much post-processing you can do after that shot's taken care of. Be careful about this. And to be honest, fool around with it. See which one you like better. You are the photographer. You can choose to do whatever you want. I'm leaving it in auto. The other thing that I like to do is that I like to make sure that I have this thing set up on a little bit of higher F. Kind of want to have a little bit of a sharper image. So F8, F10, and then I always keep the ISO basically at 200 when I get the chance. And the reason why that is because honestly, that's where OM works at its best. And they kind of designed it with that in mind. So I'm not going to mess around with that too much. So the last thing I'm going to do is pay attention to where my light is, and I'm going to change that. Of course, you know that all depends on what the clouds are doing at the moment. So this should be right there. Because it's on a tripod, I don't have to worry too much about it. Final thing that you need to know about is the special button. If you push this button right here on the top of the OM, it turns on the high res and turns off the high res. That's all it does. So right now I know that it's on. So if I hit this button, the shutter button, it takes a wait, then it takes the picture. And there it is. If I were to now take a look at the images here, we would basically be able to see that the waterfalls are in place, right? And I'll be able to work with it a little bit in post in the DxO program, and I will. So we will get over all of that later on. But the point is that now I have both the high res in both JPEG and also have it in high res of the RAW. And again, my expectation is that we're going to see better imagery in the RAW, but the JPEG won't be that bad off. So we'll get into the bits of that, okay? So I'll do a few more of this. I'm also going to do a few of the roundabout park, and then I'll basically end up at my desk, and we'll talk about those specific things through the pictures. You can't go wrong with a babbling brook. Everything is set again, the same as before. Special buttons being pushed, making sure that it comes out. It tells you, yep, and then push. Now I'm going to bring these things back into my desk, and we're going to basically take a look at everything that these